We live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Voting underway in Bangladesh for the general elections after prolonged political turmoil. 127 million voters to decide the fate of 2034 candidates. A neck-and-neck contest expected between the BNP and the Jamaat alliance. US President Trump said he insisted negotiations with Iran to continue. During a meeting with Israeli PM Netanyahu warns he may take action against Tehran if a nuclear deal is not reached. US House lawmakers vote to reject Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods. 6 Republicans join hands with opposition sweeping aside threat of election consequences. And in ICC Men's T20 World Cup tournament, favourites and co-host India to face Namibia in its second group tie in New Delhi. And on to the top stories. Bangladesh is holding its crucial, consequential and competitive parliamentary elections on Thursday, about 18 months after a student-led uprising toppled the then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's administration. Now, polling began at 7:30 Dhaka time and will conclude at 1600 hours Dhaka time without any break at 42,779 centres in 299 constituencies. Now, the main contenders are the Bangladesh Nationalist Party and Jamaat-e-Islami, which are witnessing a tight contest. Polling centres have been placed under tight security with police, Ansar paramilitary and other auxiliary forces deployed to ensure a safe and orderly vote. A clear outcome is seen as crucial for restoring stability in the nation of 175 million people. Following months of turmoil in 2024 that disrupted major industries, including the garment sector, where Bangladesh is the world's second largest exporter. Results are expected by the afternoon of Saturday, that is 13th of February. And DD India's Naval Singh Parmar joins us from Dhaka on the phone line for more. Well, Naval Singh, with the voting underway under heavy security across nearly 43,000 centres, how is the polling going on out there right now?
Today, voting started at 7:30 a.m. and almost 10:30 a.m. right now in Bangladesh. So almost 3 hours of voting already done, and
yes,
it is going on peacefully. Earlier, when the voting started at their time, there was a lukewarm response, but as the sun rises, the number of voters are coming out of their homes and going towards the voting centers, voting booths, and on many voting booths, long queues of separate queues of women and men are being seen, that the people are giving good response to the voting, and by and large the voting still now is peaceful. The BNP chairman Tariq Rahman and the Jamaat-e-Islami chairman Safiqur Rahman cast their vote in respective booths, as well as the Nahid Islam, the NCP, the National Citizen Party, the student party convener also vote in his booths. But still the response, which way the people are giving response to the referendum, it is unclear. But the latest updates I am getting from some journalist friend, that the referendum is a key issue in this election. As per some opinion polls and the judgment of some political analyst, BNP may get clear victory in this election. But at the same time, what will happen to referendum? That is a big question, and it will decide the future course of political action in Bangladesh, because the referendum is a combination of 47 questions, and it is clubbed in a one yes or no response. So it has a confusion it has created confusion among the voters. But still, the voters are going to polling booths and they are casting their vote. That is a big thing.
Okay, Naval Singh, you spoke about the referendum. Now this election comes 18 months after the uprising, and there, of course, is simultaneously there is referendum also being held on a complex 84-point reform package. So what is the mood among the voters? How excited are they looking forward from today?
No, there are two major political parties, BNP and Awami League. Awami League is not contesting the election, so there was a confusion among the Awami League voters which side they will go, whether they will vote or not. That was the confusion. But in last 1 week, there are some development which gives indication that the Awami League voters are coming for vote, not in full strength, but they are coming, and some of them are abstaining from voting, but they are coming for votes, and it seems that they are going to vote for the BNP for the stability of the political stability in Bangladesh, because the Bangladesh has witnessed a very pathetic law and order condition under the Yunus administration, and they want to break from this interim arrangement, and they want a stable, democratically elected government. Though they are a voter of Awami League, but in absence of Awami League, they may vote for the BNP, and at this moment, BNP is having a good chance of winning the election. At the same time, Tariq Rahman, who returned Bangladesh after 17 years, he is having a very good opportunity to provide a stable government in Bangladesh if the Yunus administration and the Kotari who are now running the show, if they allow BNP and Tariq Rahman, then they will have a good chance to form a government, and they can provide a stability in Bangladesh. So people are voting for the stability. People are voting for the better law and order condition. People are voting for the safety and security.
Right, Naval Singh, we can actually see a huge queue of people at the polling booths. And beyond choosing the next government, how are people in Bangladesh reacting to proposals like limiting a prime minister to 2 terms, creating an upper house of parliament, and bringing back the 90-day caretaker government system also to oversee elections?
Apart from caretaker government system, which is many political analysts views that this should be there. A country like Bangladesh, where the concentration of power at very huge level in the hands of prime minister and some of the selected officials like the army chief, police chief, judicial chief, chief justice, and the election commission with 4 or 5 key posts. If prime minister in a power can manage, then he can manage entire power system in Bangladesh. So people views that the caretaker government system, election time neutral caretaker government system should be there. But Yunus administration has clubbed many things together and created confusion among the people. So apart from some selected section of society in Dhaka, in countryside or in the other part of Dhaka also, people are not having clear idea of referendum, and they don't have a much expectation from the referendum. They are not aware what is the referendum, and it is not, there is no provision of referendum in Bangladesh constitution, and legal consequences will also be there after. If the referendum get positive response, then also there will be a phase of chaos and legal issues and the political instability in coming days if referendum get a positive response. So this kind of confusion is there, but nowadays it seems today it seems that the people are voting for the stable government. They are not caring much for the referendum and the reforms in the constitutional change. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Naval Singh, for all those details from Dhaka itself. And moving on, US President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that he pressed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to continue diplomatic talks with Iran over its nuclear program. The meeting marked the 7th interaction between Trump and Netanyahu since the US leader returned to office. Now, the two leaders spoke behind closed doors for around 3 hours in what Trump described as a very good meeting. Also, in his Truth Social post, Trump highlighted that while nothing definitive was reached, he encouraged continued negotiations with Iran to explore the possibility of a deal. Trump said he told Netanyahu that a deal with Iran would be his preferred outcome. He wrote, "If it can be consummated, that will be a preference. If it cannot, we will just have to see what the outcome will be." The US president also warned Tehran against rejecting diplomacy again. Trump also addressed regional developments, noting discussions on the situation in Gaza and broader Middle East affairs. Well, ahead of his meeting with U.S. President Trump, Netanyahu also officially signed on as a member of Board of Peace for Gaza during a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. A UN Security Council resolution adopted in mid-November authorized the board and countries working with it to establish an international stabilization force in Gaza, where a ceasefire began in October under a Trump plan on which Israel and Hamas signed off. The board will hold its first meeting on February 19th in Washington to discuss Gaza's reconstruction. And the U.S. House of Representatives on Wednesday narrowly backed a measure disapproving of President Trump's tariffs on Canada. Lawmakers voted 219 to 211 in favor of a resolution to terminate Trump's use of a national emergency to put punitive trade measures on Canadian goods, as 6 Republicans joined all but 1 Democrat in favor. It was an important symbolic vote in the chamber, where Trump's Republicans hold a slim 218 to 214 majority. The resolution stands a good chance of passage in the Senate, which has voted twice to block Trump from imposing tariffs on Canada, despite his Republicans holding more seats. However, it is unlikely to become law, as it would take 2/3 majority in both chambers to overcome an expected Trump veto. Trump also warned that any Republican in the House or Senate who voted against the tariffs would seriously suffer the consequences come election time. Trump ordered a 25% tariff on imports from Canada in February last year, and in August signed an executive order increasing tariffs on Canadian goods to 35% for all products not covered by the US-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. And now updates on Canada mass shooting. Canadian police have identified the attacker in a deadly school shooting. Canadian police on Wednesday said an 18-year-old carried out a mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge in British Columbia, killing 6 people at a local school after slaying her mother and stepbrother too. Police Commander Dwayne McDonnell said authorities still don't know the motive on Tuesday's mass shooting, but the shooter, who took her own life, was known to have mental health issues. Police also revised the toll down to 8 from 9 due to earlier confusion over the condition of one of the victims. Meanwhile, flags will be lowered nationwide to half-staff or for 7 days, following the tragedy among the deadliest shootings in Canada's history. And U.S. President Donald Trump will host a summit with Latin American leaders in Miami on March 7th. Leaders from Argentina, Paraguay, Bolivia, El Salvador, Ecuador and Honduras have been invited. Some invitees, including Argentina's Javier Milei and El Salvador's Nayib Bukele, are close allies of Trump. The White House has not shared detailed plans for the meeting. Argentine media reports say the summit may focus on countering China's influence. It remains unclear which leaders will attend the meeting. And still to come, DD India Newshour. U.S. Energy Secretary visits Venezuela to boost oil, gas and power output. NATO defense ministers meet in Brussels to discuss Ukraine support and strengthening alliance defenses. And manatees flock to warm springs as Florida cold snap threatens their survival. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, NATO defense ministers will meet at NATO headquarters in Brussels on Thursday. Continued support for Ukraine will be one of the topics at a meeting of NATO defense ministers in Brussels Now, the agenda also includes strengthening NATO deterrence and defense, progress towards the defense spending commitment, and the development of air and missile defense. The ministers will also discuss preparations for the next NATO summit in Ankara, scheduled for July 7th to 8th, 2026. A meeting of the Ukraine Defence Contact Group, co-chaired by the United Kingdom and Germany, will also take place on Thursday. Meanwhile, NATO has begun a mission to strengthen its presence in the Arctic as part of an agreement to diffuse severe tensions within the alliance prompted by Trump's desire for the US to acquire Greenland. Secretary General Mark Rutte said new mission dubbed Arctic Sentry will coordinate the increasing military presence of NATO allies in the region, including exercises such as Denmark's Arctic Endurance on Greenland.
Arctic Sentry leverages the strength of the alliance by bringing together NATO and allied activities in the High North into one overarching operational approach to the region. Initially, it will bring together exercises like Denmark's Arctic Endurance and Norway's Cold Response. And we continue to synchronize these and other efforts under NATO. We'll not only build our posture in the region alone, but we will also build a more cohesive picture of potential challenges in the Arctic so that any gaps can be quickly and effectively addressed.
Well, NATO began planning for the mission after Trump and Rutte held talks in Davos last month at the height of the Greenland crisis. Rutte and Trump agreed that NATO would play a greater role in protecting the Arctic, while Denmark, the US and Greenland would hold further discussions about Greenland. And some updates on Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Britain has committed $205 million to the so-called Prioritized Ukraine Requirements List, or PURL, initiative to supply Ukraine with U.S. weapons. PURL was set up last summer to keep U.S. weapons flowing to Ukraine at a time when new U.S. military assistance had stalled. Now, committing the same, UK Defence Minister John Healey stressed that together we must provide Ukraine with the critical air defence it needs in response to Russian attacks. Also, the scheme allows allies to fund purchases of American air defense systems and other critical equipment for Kyiv. Allies have already put forward over $4.5 billion through the program. Also, President Volodymyr Zelensky has refuted the news reports that he's planning to announce on 24th of February a presidential election and referendum on a peace deal with Russia. He made it clear that Ukraine will only hold elections once it has security guarantees in place and a ceasefire with Russia. Zelensky also said that he spoke to French counterpart Emmanuel Macron, who briefed him about a recent visit by Macron aide to Moscow. And moving on, U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said that Washington can help achieve a significant rise in Venezuela's oil, gas and electricity output this year after meeting interim President Delcy Rodriguez in Caracas. The visit, the highest level U.S. energy engagement in nearly 30 years, aims to assess and revive Venezuela's energy industry and support economic freedom for its people. Wright will also meet executives from firms like Chevron and Repsol and visit major oil projects in the Orinoco Belt. The visit follows a new U.S. license easing energy restrictions, a $2 billion oil deal, and a proposed $100 billion reconstruction initiative.
We believe, in fact, I can say I think we know that working together, the people of Venezuela and the people of the United States, this year, we can drive a dramatic increase in Venezuelan oil production, in Venezuelan natural gas production, in Venezuelan electricity production, and most importantly of all of these are to increase the job opportunities, the wages, and the quality of life for all of the Venezuelans across the country. And by doing that, it will also enormously benefit the United States and the Western Hemisphere and the future partnership for all of us.
The Kremlin indicated on Wednesday that Russia will request further details from the United States regarding newly imposed U.S. restrictions affecting Venezuela's oil sector. Also on Tuesday, the U.S. Treasury introduced a general license intended to support oil and gas exploration and production in Venezuela, but it excludes dealings involving Russian individuals or companies. Also, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that Moscow intends to address the matter with Washington through existing diplomatic communication channels to better understand the scope and implications of the measures.
It is a relatively new decision, but we'll certainly use the channels of communication we have with the Americans to clarify the situation. We do indeed have investment in Venezuela, long-term projects, and there's interest both from our Venezuelan partners and from our side. All this is a reason to talk about the situation with the Americans.
Well, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on Wednesday described new U.S. limits on Russia's involvement in Venezuela's oil sector as clear discrimination. Lavrov emphasized that Russia, along with China and Iran, has long-standing investments in Venezuela's energy industry and expressed a desire for cooperation with the United States based on mutual respect rather than dominance.
The United States is lifting restrictions on Venezuela's oil industry, but a decision by the US Treasury Secretary bars Russia, China and Iran from operations in oil production or oil sales in Venezuela. This is blatant discrimination despite the fact that Russia, China and Iran have had investments in Venezuela's oil and energy sector.
Meanwhile, dozens of family members of political detainees assembled outside Venezuela's National Assembly in Caracas, urging the authorities to quickly free their imprisoned relatives and include them in talks on a proposed amnesty measure. Waving signs and chanting, protesters said many prisoners have been unfairly jailed, with some families claiming they have had no contact for months in fear for their loved ones' safety. National Assembly First Deputy President Pedro Jose Infante and lawmaker George Arreaza met the group and accompanied them inside. Although the amnesty bill passed an initial debate on February 5th, a second discussion is yet to be scheduled. Relatives also alleged abuse and torture in detention centers. And moving on, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum announced that Mexico will dispatch a second round of humanitarian assistance to Cuba soon as the island struggles with a serious fuel crisis causing widespread power outages and flight disruptions. Over the weekend, 2 vessels carrying more than 800 tons of aid departed for Cuba. Sheinbaum said the shipment is expected to arrive shortly and the ships will return with additional supplies. Mexico is also assessing options to provide fuel to Cuba to address essential needs while seeking to avoid possible U.S. retaliation, as Washington has warned of tariffs on countries exporting oil to the island.
¿Llegan mañana?
It arrives tomorrow. The ship will return and a second shipment will be made, and so it will continue to be sent.
Y así se va a estar enviando.
Well, the fuel tankers were seen anchored in Matanzas Bay as Cuba continues to face a worsening energy shortage following U.S. actions limiting oil deliveries to the island. The vessels Ocean Integrity and Alicia were docked at the Matanzas supertanker terminal, a key hub for fuel shortage, storage and distribution. Cuba has long depended on Venezuela for much of its petroleum needs, but shipments of crude and refined products have reportedly stopped since mid-December after Washington moved to curb Venezuelan exports. Now, President Donald Trump has pledged to halt Venezuelan oil flows to Cuba and warned that countries supplying fuel to the island could face U.S. tariffs. And Cuba's tourism industry faced mounting pressure on Tuesday as a severe fuel crisis threatened the island's crucial economic sector, according to tourism workers and visitors in Varadero, Matanzas province. The crisis intensified after U.S. measures in January restricted oil supplies. Cuban aviation authorities have warned the country is running out of jet fuel, prompting Canada's flag carrier and other airlines to temporarily halt flights or reroute planes to refuel at neighboring Caribbean airports. Russia announced plans to evacuate approximately 4,000 Russian tourists from Cuba within days, with 2 Russian airlines operating outbound oil-only flights before suspending services to the island. And updates from Argentina now, where massive protests are underway to oppose President Javier Milei's proposed labor reforms that would restrict the right to strike and roll back employment benefits. Now, the protests were staged while senators debated the sweeping overhaul of the nation's rigid labor laws in the Congress. The reforms are seen as an attempt to curb the power of organized labor. They would, among other things, make it easier for businesses to fire employees and reduce severance pay. They would also restrict the ability of labor unions to participate in collective bargaining. Also, meanwhile, Milei has argued that the reforms are essential to realizing his vision for a free market economy free of cumbersome regulation. He further argued that the changes are necessary to attract investment also. Well, a brawl broke out in the Turkish parliament on Wednesday as opposition lawmakers tried to block newly appointed Justice Minister Ekin Gürlek from taking oath. Since serving as Istanbul's chief prosecutor in 2024, Gürlek has led a series of arrests and investigations targeting the main opposition party, including probes involving Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, a key rival of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Gürlek's appointment as justice minister drew sharp criticism from the opposition, who attempted to prevent him from reaching the podium, sparking pushing and scuffles between the parties. Now, despite this confrontation, Gürlek eventually took his oath, surrounded by party members who applauded and cheered him. And Kosovo's parliament elected Albin Kurti as prime minister on Wednesday, securing his third term and ending a year-long political stalemate. Following 12 months in a caretaker position, Kurti was confirmed as the Balkan nation's new prime minister after his party topped the results in a snap election in December. He was elected to the leadership with 66 votes in favor in the 120-seat parliament, drawing applause from his supporters. And moving on, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi clashed with Democrats during a tense House Judiciary Committee hearing over the Justice Department's handling of records related to Jeffrey Epstein. Lawmakers criticized the department for heavily redacting and withholding documents despite a federal law mandating broad disclosure. The Justice Department recently released what it described as a final batch of more than 3 million pages, again spotlighting prominent figures linked to Epstein after his conviction. Now, Democrats argued the redactions exceeded the law's limited exemptions, while additional materials were withheld under claims of legal privilege. The department maintained it acted transparently and said edits were needed to protect victims, although some names became public. Now, Bondi refused to request from a Democratic lawmaker to directly apologize to victims present, but expressed regret for their suffering.
I am deeply sorry for what any victim has been through, especially as a result of that monster. If you have any information to share with law enforcement about anyone who has hurt you or abused you, the FBI is waiting to hear from you. I want you to know that any accusations of criminal wrongdoing will be taken seriously and investigated.
While moving on, in U.S., hundreds of manatees gathered in warm water areas such as Manatee Lagoon and Natural Springs throughout Florida to survive this year's sharp drop in temperatures. The cold snap threatens their survival, making these safe havens vital. Experts say protecting these habitats is crucial for the species. And still to come on India Newshour. India pushes for urgent UN Security Council reforms at UNAT meet, stresses protecting development agenda. We'll tell you how AI revolution acceleration is bringing unprecedented threats. And India's Northern Railway extends Vistadome service to Katra, offering panoramic view along iconic Chenab Bridge route in Jammu and Kashmir.
When we see so many things wrong around us, We just need to turn off our autopilot and start making conscious choices.
Raja Banerjee decided things needed changing and introduced organic farming methods. His aim, producing tea in harmony with nature.
Control-less is doing it, it is partnering with the government in using that treated water or the grey water into our data centers that in turn use less of power.
Industrial waste is also cleaner, and there's a lot of it. Taiwan has a lot of big industry, in particular semiconductors and petrochemicals, so there's big potential for reuse there.
To make the process more efficient, he created an app. The app already shows where the trees are and when they were last watered, so you can also plan a route near your home.
Welcome back. You're watching T20 India Newshour. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Voting underway in Bangladesh for the general elections after prolonged political turmoil. 127 million voters to decide the fate of 2034 candidates. A neck-and-neck contest expected between the BNP and the Jamaat alliance. US President Trump said he insisted negotiations with Iran to continue. During a meeting with Israeli PM Netanyahu, warns he may take action against Iran if a nuclear deal is not reached. US House lawmakers vote to reject Donald Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods. 6 Republicans join hands with the opposition, sweeping aside threat of election consequences. And in ICC Men's T20 World Cup, tournament favourites and co-host India to face Namibia in its second group tie in New Delhi. And moving on, India has consistently and urgently reiterated the need for comprehensive reforms within the United Nations. Speaking on the initiative UN80, India's permanent representative to the UN, P. Harish, said real and meaningful reform of the Security Council is necessary to make it relevant, contemporary, credible and effective. He added that it must be ensured the development pillar is not affected in the process. UN80 is a reform strategy to boost efficiency and reduce cost within the organization.
UN80 is a promising platform for reform. Member states must not be constrained by their own vision or narrow interests. However, the reform must go beyond the revitalization of the General Assembly and cover other organs as well, particularly the UN Security Council. Real and meaningful reform of the Security Council is necessary to make this principal organ relevant, contemporary, credible and effective. In New York, we must see how best we can reclaim some of the committee time and effort for our own focused agenda at our end. Finally, as member states work towards reform and improvement, the effectiveness and impact of the development pillar cannot suffer. This is critical to countries of the Global South. UN mechanisms and resources that cater to specific development needs must be preserved. Prioritizing peace and security pillar must not lead to either an intended or a benign neglect of the development pillar.
Well, the United Nations is marking its 80th anniversary throughout 2025 and into 2026, celebrating 8 decades of promoting peace, human rights and development since its founding in 1945. Centered on the theme Building Our Future Together, the UN80 initiative highlights efforts to reform and strengthen global cooperation for modern challenges. And some updates from Indian Parliament now. Several questions are scheduled to be answered during question hour today in both the houses. Important documents are also scheduled to be tabled. The Lok Sabha, or the lower house, will discuss the Industrial Relations Code Amendment Bill 2026. This bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha on Wednesday. While the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, will conclude the discussion on the general budget, the finance minister will respond to the discussion. On Wednesday, the finance minister responded to the budget discussion in the Lok Sabha. During the budget discussion, the finance minister stressed that the government is giving a major push to build robust infrastructure in the country with the emphasis on labor-intensive sectors to generate employment and facilitate growth. Nirmala Sitharaman also said that inflation has come down during the NDA government, which was in the double digit during the UPA regime. She added that Modi government is working for the interest of the country. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Rolls-Royce CEO Tufan Argin Bilgich in New Delhi to review the company's growing engagement in India. While the discussions focused on expanding business operations, strengthening manufacturing partnerships and increasing collaboration with India's skilled and young workforce. The Prime Minister welcomed Rolls-Royce's commitment to invest in India's innovation ecosystem and support the vision of Viksit Bharat. He later shared details of the meeting on social media platform X, highlighting the importance of global partnerships in boosting India's industrial growth. And Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal held talks with Rolls-Royce CEO Tufan Argin Bilgich on strengthening the company's operations in India. The discussion focused on expanding manufacturing under the Make in India initiative for domestic and global markets. Now, the minister also shared details of the meeting on social media platform X. And India has been conferred the prestigious Country of the Year honour at BioFact 2026, the world's leading trade fair for organic products held in Nuremberg, Germany. This designation marks India's return to the centre stage of global organic farming after 14 years. Well, India's pavilion is showcasing a wide range of organic products such as rice, oilseeds, herbs, spices, pulses, cashew, ginger, turmeric, larch cardamom, cinnamon, mango puree and essential oils, among others. The range highlights country's rich agricultural heritage and its strength as a major global supplier of organic products. BioFact will continue till the 13th of this month. While artificial intelligence is transforming our world at unprecedented speed, a monumental achievement for humanity. Yet, it is also bringing grave risk, hyper-realistic deepfakes, automated cybercrime, disinformation, and threats to critical infrastructure. DD India's Antara Sinha has more on this.
In an era of rapid technological progress, artificial intelligence represents one of humanity's greatest achievements. But at the same time, it also harbors serious, multifaceted threats that require urgent and collective vigilance. The most pressing risks stem from malicious exploitation, which involves intentional abuse of system vulnerabilities, software weakness, or human behavior to gain unauthorized access, steal data, or cause disruption. Advanced AI enables cybercriminals to produce hyper-realistic deepfakes, launch sophisticated phishing attacks, and automate fraud, blackmail, non-consensual imagery, and disinformation campaigns. Some AI tools are already a threat to institutional trust, influencing public opinion, and has the potential of spreading misinformation worldwide at unprecedented speed. Cybersecurity is under severe strain, with reports of several instances of conventional defenses being outpaced. Today, leading assessments identify AI as the primary driver of cyber threats, tilting the balance toward attackers and risking widespread failures in critical infrastructure. In response, the Government of India, through the India AI Mission and the 2025 India AI Governance Guidelines, has taken proactive steps. This includes establishing the India AI Safety Institute for risk assessment, safety testing, and developing indigenous tools against deepfakes and bias, adopting a risk-based, innovation-friendly, light-touch approach with emphasis on accountability, content labeling, transparency, and incident reporting, and promoting ethical principles, sector collaboration, and global partnerships.
Today's systems frequently hallucinate information, and many of them deliver incorrect results. As AI tools become more automated, and they can get misaligned with human values, robust governance, ethical design, and international cooperation are essential. The future of AI must be guarded by responsible stewardship that protects humanity's shared interests. This is Antra Sinha for DD India with Shambhunath Mishra.
And Northern Railways has extended its Vista Dome coach service from Srinagar to Sri Mata Vaishno Devi Katra, bringing passengers closer to scenic Himalayan views. The specially designed coaches aim to enhance comfort and offer a panoramic travel experience along this picturesque route.
A day after Northern Railway extended the Vista Dome coach service from Srinagar to Sri Mata Vaishno Devi Katra, passengers were seen soaking in the scenic views as the train departed from Katra on Wednesday. Aimed at enhancing the travel experience for tourists and local commuters along the scenic route, the train features specialized coaches equipped with 360-degree rotating seats, large glass windows and glass roofs, offering panoramic views.
मुझे पता चला कि ये ट्रेन यहाँ से कटरा से कश्मीर को डायरेक्ट जाएगी, तो मुझे काफ़ी अच्छा लगा। जो घंटों का जो 12-13 घंटा का जो सफ़र था वो 3-4 घंटों में ही कवर हो जाएगा, तो मेरे को बहुत काफ़ी अच्छा, काफ़ी कंफर्टेबल और रिलीफ है कि जल्दी पहुँच जाएंगे।
मुझे ट्रेन का पता चला तो मैंने रोड से जो सफ़र है वो कैंसिल करके ट्रेन को प्रेफरेंस दी, ट्रेन को इसी को प्रेफर किया। तो किराए के लिहाज से बिल्कुल सस्ती है, वक्त बचता है, आरामदेह है और इसको मज़ीद बढ़ाना चाहिए। ये जो ट्रेन सर्विस है, रेलवे की जो सर्विस है, अभी जो एक ट्रेन आज से चल रही है, तो इसको बढ़ाना चाहिए। कम से कम 2-4 ट्रेनें चलनी चाहिए दिन भर, ताकि लोगों को मज़ीद फ़ायदा हो, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग इसका लाभ उठा सके, फ़ायदा उठा सके।
Officials who travelled on the train reviewed the facilities and appreciated them. They also said that additional freight trains will be introduced on the route to improve goods transportation and boost the local economy.
कनेक्टिविटी, सुंदरता, प्राकृतिक सौंदर्यता, लोगों को सुविधाएं, ये सब मिला के मैं ये कहूँगा कि भारतीय रेलवे जो अपनी सेवा दे पा रही है और जो हम लोग सेवा भाव से यहाँ काम कर रहे हैं, यहाँ के जनता के प्रति, यहाँ के लोगों के प्रति, वो आने वाले समय में याद रखा जाएगा। यहाँ पर हम लोगों ने फर्टिलाइज़र की, सीमेंट की जो रेक्स आने में काफ़ी समय लगता था और बिल्कुल अलग पड़ जाता था, उसको भी हम लोगों ने भेजा है और आने वाले समय में हम लोग और भी गुड्स ट्रेनें यहाँ चलाएंगे।
The Udhampur-Srinagar-Baramulla Rail Link project connecting Katra with Baramulla is considered a major engineering feat aimed at linking Kashmir with the rest of the country through rail connectivity across the challenging Himalayan terrain. Among its major highlights is the Chenab Bridge in Riyasi district, soaring 359 meters above the riverbed, the highest railway arch bridge in the world.
While India remembers Swami Dayanand Saraswati, a scholar, reformer and fearless advocate of truth, on his birth anniversary today. His life was dedicated to reviving Vedic wisdom and promoting education rooted in character. Let's take a look at this report.
Swami Dayanand Saraswati believed that knowledge was the foundation of a strong society. He emphasized that education must not only inform the mind but also refine conduct. Deeply inspired by Vedic principles, he encouraged people to question blind practices and return to rational thought and moral discipline. His message was simple yet powerful: live truthfully, think independently, and serve society selflessly. He was a pioneer who linked women's empowerment with national progress.
महर्षि दयानंद ने अपने दौर में महिलाओं के अधिकारों और उनकी भागीदारी की बात की थी। नई नीतियों के जरिए, ईमानदार कोशिशों के जरिए देश आज अपनी बेटियों को आगे बढ़ा रहा है।
In an era driven by speed and ambition, his philosophy places character above convenience and integrity above popularity. Swami Dayanand Saraswati's Jayanti is more than just a remembrance of his birth. It is a reminder that a nation grows stronger when its people choose knowledge over ignorance and values over shortcut.
Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
While paying heartfelt and respectful tributes to Swami Dayanand Saraswati on his birth anniversary, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a social media post said, and I quote him, Maharishi Dayanand Saraswati ji made unparalleled contributions not only in promoting education but also in enriching Indian culture and tradition. His efforts for social reform will continue to serve as a source of inspiration for the people of the country, unquote. And on to some business news now. Instagram chief Adam Mosseri told a California court that social media use should not be equated with clinical addiction, as he testified in a major trial examining whether Meta and YouTube intentionally made their platforms addictive for children. The case centers on allegations that 20-year-old Kaylee G.M. suffered serious harm after years of heavy social media use beginning in childhood. Plaintiffs argue e-tech firms design apps to act like dopamine-driven slot machines, while the companies deny intentional harm, blaming personal circumstances. The trial, seen as a potential legal milestone, precedes testimony from Mark Zuckerberg and YouTube CEO Neil Mohan. And governments and regulators around the world are cracking down on sexually explicit content generated by Elon Musk's XAI chatbot Grok on X, launching probes, imposing bans and demanding safeguards in a growing global push to curb illegal material. Now, the latest country in the list is Brazil. The South American nation on Wednesday told Elon Musk's social network X to stop its chatbot from creating sexually explicit images. Brazil's chief prosecutor, the National Data Protection Agency, and the National Consumer Rights Bureau, in a social media post, stated that X must immediately implement appropriate measures to prevent the production, using Grok of sexualized or eroticized content of children and adolescents, as well as adults who have not given their consent. The agencies gave the platform 5 days to comply with the order or risk legal action and fines as well. Also, X claimed it had deleted thousands of posts and suspended hundreds of accounts after Brazil issued a warning last month. But checks found by the Brazilian authorities that Grok users were still able to generate sexualized deepfakes. The authorities slammed X for not being transparent in its response. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. India takes on Namibia in a Group A clash of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup at the Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi on Thursday. While it may look like a one-sided contest on paper, T20 cricket often springs surprises. After a slightly scratchy performance with the bat in their last outing, the defending champions will be eager to deliver a more complete display. Namibia, meanwhile, face a tough challenge as they look to bounce back and test themselves against one of the tournament favourites. A report by DD India correspondent Narayan Singh.
It's a classic David versus Goliath clash in the capital. Defending champions India are set to face Namibia in their second Group A match of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup at the Arun Jaitley Stadium in Delhi on Thursday. Delhi gears up for a contest that, at least on paper, looks one-sided, but in T20 cricket, nothing is ever guaranteed. India will be keen to put up a more complete performance after a slightly scratchy outing with the bat against the USA on a slow one-day surface. The conditions in Delhi are expected to favour stroke makers, and that should excite a powerful Indian batting unit. The likes of Surya Kumar Yadav, Tilak Verma, Ishan Kishan and Hardik Pandya would look to make full use of a better batting track. Namibia, however, have plenty of work to do. They suffered a defeat to the Netherlands at this very venue, where their batters struggled to build momentum and the bowlers couldn't defend a modest score. Facing India's depth and experience will be a far tougher challenge. This game could also provide India an opportunity to test their bench strength. With Abhishek Sharma hospitalized due to illness, the team management may be forced to tweak combinations. All eyes will be also on Sanju Samson. After a series of low scores, he will be eager to grab this chance and return to form, especially with competition for places heating up. India's bowling attack, led by Jasprit Bumrah and Arshdeep Singh, supported by Hardik Pandya and Varun Chakravarti, has the variety and firepower to trouble any batting lineup. For Namibia, it will require discipline, belief, and perhaps a touch of brilliance to challenge the defending champions. The stage is set in Delhi. India aim to assert their dominance, while Namibia hope to rise beyond expectations.
On paper, India are overwhelming favourites, but as cricket often reminds us, the game isn't won on reputation but on performance. Will it be a commanding statement from the defending champions, or can Namibia script an upset in Delhi? All eyes now on Arun Jaitley Stadium. With camera person SP Dubey, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
And DD India's Abhishek Prasad joins us for more on the match. Well, Abhishek, the stage is set and a classic match today. Defending champions India are set to face Namibia. Do you think the Delhi pitch will allow them to play more freely, and can we expect a stronger batting show this time?
Definitely, Lipakshi. The Delhi pitch is something which assists the batters more. Also, the ground is small, and India can look to rectify their mistakes that they did in their opening game against the USA, where they lost 6 wickets inside 100 runs. But in this match, given the time they are playing Namibia, they can flex their muscles and can give their batters more time. Their batters would like to spend more time on the pitch before big games come later part of the tournament. The way Abhishek Sharma is discharged from the hospital, but he is doubtful for this game. Sanju Samson might come in, so it's very good for other batters in the Indian team. They might get a good game time before this game, but we cannot write off the associate teams. The way the first week of the T20 World Cup has panned out, it showed how competitive associate nations and the lower ranked teams have grown up. With Afghanistan yesterday was giving tough fight to South Africa, dragging them to 2 super overs. It is evident that this 20 team tournament is good for the game and good for the cricket in general. The way Nepal also given England a run for their money. And with all these teams, with associate nations and ranking teams, playing against these teams, India and Australia, is helping their game to grow in their country. But given in this game, India can hope to give some bench strength to other batters and test their strength before playing big tournaments.
All right. Also, Abhishek, with Abhishek Sharma unavailable and Sanju Samson under a bit of pressure right now, can we expect the team management making a few changes, or will they stick with the core group to keep the momentum going as Namibia suffered defeat to the Netherlands earlier?
Yes, a few changes is expected on the cards. With Abhishek Sharma, it's doubtful Sanju Samson might get a game in, and it will help his cause because given the disappointment outing he had against New Zealand, he didn't had just single-digit scores in the 5-match series against New Zealand. It is good for him as well because remember he was called in the T20 squad in place of Shubman Gill. So the first change will be Sanju Samson, but another change Indian team might tinker it as against Washington Sundar. He has recovered and he trained yesterday also under the gaze of Surya Kumar Yadav and the Indian team management. So one thing is about Sundar, and another thing is Jasprit Bumrah is fit and back, so he might get a game in, and that will be very crucial for India to give these players some game time before they take on Pakistan and before they head into the Super 8. That will be very crucial because we have seen that when because T20 World Cup and all these tournaments are they don't get they are very 6 matches or 7 matches, so many players don't get enough time, and if in the later part of the stage if someone gets injured, player get lack of game time. So it's very important to give these players some game time in this matches against lower ranked teams.
All right, thank you so much, Abhishek, for all that information. And a spirited Nepal will face Italy in their Group C encounter of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Nepal enters the contest against Italy, a team they have never faced before, on the back of falling short by just one big blow against England. Nepal will look to bring that same brand of cricket in Mumbai again and will believe they hold the edge and momentum against their fellow associates who are playing their first big tournament. Italy, meanwhile, had a tough initiation at the T20 World Cup with a 73-run defeat against Scotland. They also lost their captain Wayne Maatson to injury inside 4 overs of the T20 World Cup debut. With nothing to lose and experience to gain, Italy have another chance to have fun and potentially upset some calculations before facing stronger oppositions, England and West Indies. And the mega event, CISF Cyclothon 2026, was flagged off from Mumbai's iconic Gateway of India, marking a major nationwide initiative under the theme Vande Bharat. The cyclothon had begun simultaneously from West Bengal and Gujarat, symbolizing India's unity and collective spirit as it traveled along the eastern and western coast of the country. The event aimed to spread awareness about coastal security, national unity and fitness, while reinforcing the message of patriotism and social responsibility. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.